And we are live. Hello everyone, welcome to Pro Strings and welcome to this special celebratory edition of Henriette Goes Live. We're celebrating 10 years at Pro Strings, so I'm absolutely delighted to take you through this class today. I'm Henriette. I'm the founder of Pro Strings. I teach all the videos, all the classes, so it's lovely to see you here. Whilst we're waiting for some more people to come and join, because that's always the case that people come in as we just get started, let me talk you through the chat box. And to the right of my screen, I can see a chat box where I can write any comments. And if you want to ask a question, and this is very much an audience-led webinar, shall we say, you can write your question in the chat box and then hit send, and I will get to see it at this end, and I will try and address anything violin related that you post in there. And I would suggest that you keep it polite and friendly at all times, so thank you for that. Down below the chat, you can see some icons, and you can add emojis. You can add, if you click on the emojis, you can see what the different ones are, and you're welcome to use them all. If you click on the little dollar sign that's there, you can get a sticker. You can buy a super sticker or a super chat, and also a member milestone chat if you're a member of Henriette's Violin Club. So please make use of all of that as well. And also, if you let me see what happens if I do. Okay, now I'm just experimenting with that because it changes sometimes, so it's not always the same at my end the way it looks. I've done these classes for years, and every time I'm here it looks a little bit different. Hello Linda, welcome. So hello everyone else who's here as well, and if you feel like you want to contribute or you just want to say hello, do practice writing in the chat box and tell us your name, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, because it's, for me in particular, it's really nice to see where everyone is. And especially in this class today, where we're just celebrating something, and in a moment, once more people have joined, in a moment I will get to expand on that a little bit more. We're just waiting for some people to say hello and come into the chat box. So go ahead. If you've never done that before, it's not scary at all. You just write your name, say hello and where you live, and then hit send, and we get to see it. Now then, let's get going. What is there to celebrate? Pro Strings. Oh, hello, here's Annika. Hello, Henriette. She says, hello, Henriette. Hello, Annika, and welcome to this live stream. And Linda and Annika are really always here, I should say. So lovely to see you back again. So what is here to celebrate? Pro Strings as an organisation exists 10 years. It actually existed 10 years in May. And in the September of that year, in 2013, I set up a YouTube channel and really didn't know what to do with it. So it sat there for a long time, and it was only, I just had to check that, it was only from January 2020 that I got in touch with a YouTube manager, and she helped me set up the channel properly and start doing the videos. So whilst the organization has been going for a long time, we've only really been on YouTube since January 2020. So that is how it all started, and that is how it came about. And then of course in 2020 the pandemic hit, and I made use of the YouTube channel a lot because all my students that I was teaching at the time, I was teaching mostly in schools, also privately, but mostly in schools. And I was trying to help the parents of my students mostly, because I wanted them to find practicing really easy. So all the books that I used with a lot of especially beginners, I recorded videos for all the tunes that I was using in my lessons, so that when we were in lockdown and pupils found it very difficult anyway to do anything, they could just switch on YouTube and play with me, get to see me, get the feel for how I usually phrase my lessons, get that same feeling again, so that it was easier to do. So this is how it all started, and then it started rolling and it's gone way beyond my expectations, because at the moment there are almost 800 videos. There are almost 25,000 subscribers. There are lots of people who are members of Henriette's Violin Club. So it's gone completely beyond my wildest expectations. And you are here, and it's just lovely to see you. So thank you for joining me today. But most importantly, thank you for supporting Pro-Am Strings over the years and make it in what it has been before. And with all these kind of things, they don't exist without a supportive audience. So I am extremely grateful to all of you who watch the videos, who subscribe to the channel, who become members, who have lessons with me, who come to my live classes. And in the meantime, while I was chatting away, a couple of other people have joined. So hello Nasrin, really nice to see you here. And hello Raj, really nice to see you here as well, and you've given me a thumbs up, and that's really nice. So tell me what you'd like to get out of this class. I've said my thank yous, and this is one of the things that I wanted to share with you today about the anniversary. Tell me what you want to get out of this class. Have you got any specific questions that you might want to ask, or is this something, how is this class supporting you? You might write things like that. Just a general chat about violin playing, about things that work for one person, which may well work for another person too. And go ahead. I'll try and answer your questions to the very best of my ability. Now, in the meantime, whilst we're waiting, there's always a little bit of a delay between people writing in the chat box and me seeing that and answering your question. In the meantime, I have got a question from someone who's only recently joined the channel, and I wanted to address that because I thought maybe other people have the same happening to them. And the question is, can you help me? Because whenever I tune, I tend to break a string, and that's quite heartbreaking when that happens, especially if this is somebody who's just got a violin, who's just started learning, and then you hit an obstacle like that. What can you do? Now, first of all, I'd like to work out what the reason is that this person is breaking their string. So I'm really sorry to hear that, and it shouldn't really happen. And there may be different causes. So when we tune, we have got two different ways of tuning. One is with the pegs, and one is with the fine tuner, and most beginner violins have got 4 fine tuners here. Now this tunes the strings bit by bit, so little by little, and you can never go too far so that you break the string. And you've got to be very, very careful when you use the big pegs for your tuning, because if you twist it suddenly and it suddenly gets a lot tighter, there is the risk of breaking the string. Therefore, when we tune the string with the big pegs, we tend to loosen the string first, so twist it towards you. You can see how the string is wound around the peg inside the peg box. Have a really good look at it, and then make sure you loosen it first before you then tune it, because pegs are always a little bit sticky, and it may just happen that when you put force on to tighten it, it will go way further than you anticipated. So that may have been the case, that it's breaking because of that. Now, another cause, which is less common but it sometimes happens, is that there may be a little unevenness here in what we call the nut. So the string is tight, quite tightly obviously, and here it goes at an angle into the peg box. Now this little wooden part here that lifts the string above the fingerboard is called the nut. And if there is an unevenness, there should be really smooth grooves, 4 grooves through which the strings run. But if there is a little unevenness in the wood, it might just wear your string out. Now, that doesn't account for when you break the string every time you tune, but if you frequently break a string, or you find that the winding of your strings is coming away right here, you might want to check that. And if you check it, you can just feel it with your finger. If it's really nice and soft, then it's probably okay. It's not going to wear the string out anytime soon. But what you could do is put some graphite right in those grooves. So with a pencil, just rub it a little bit with a pencil lead, and that will help, just as you smoothen your locks of your doors sometimes with graphite. You put some graphite in here and it smooths the groove so the string can run more evenly. Now, if those two options don't help, it may be wise to take your violin to a violin maker just to check it over, to see whether there's anything else that causes the breakage, because that shouldn't really happen. It might, of course, be that you've bought super cheap strings that are not very strong, but that is a more unlikely cause of breaking the strings. So if this is you, if you are the person who asked this question, I'm hoping this helps, and you might, I don't know obviously if you are here or not at the moment, but if you're not and you're watching this video afterwards, because it will stay on the channel, then do write in the comment section so that I can find out and have some feedback on that. Now then, in the meantime, some other people have joined the chat box, so let me just have a read through. That new beginner course is in gold or silver or in free videos? Good question, Enika, thank you. The new course is a free series, and I'll tell you what, for now I'm not using any books yet, because I haven't decided yet which books I'm going to use. So it's free, it will be released week on week, and I have no idea how many lessons there will be. So definitely not 100 or close to 100 like the All for Strings course, but I don't know, maybe 20 or 25 lessons. I'm not going to make any promises, because I want to see what the feedback is. The question has been on the channel that you guys want more stuff for beginners. Here it is, it's just coming. And I make them week on week. So these are all brand new courses. I tend to record it, edit it and release it on the same day or next day or so. So there's always up-to-date information. And if someone asks a question about an aspect that has been discussed in the video, I can then address the answer to the question in the following video, you see. So that is how quick the feedback is. Now I'm doing my best to make that instant, and obviously the videos will stay on the channel for other people to watch later as well. But if you are here and you're watching the new course as the first course, you have that instant feedback if you use the comment section below the videos. Let me just read through the chat box again. Nazarene, nice to see you. Linda, how should you practice the Sevcik Violin Studies Book 1? Now that is a very, very good question. And I'm going to give you my opinion straight away. I am not a fan of Sevcik. And I'll tell you why. And I can also then tell you how you can go about studying Sevcik if you want to do that. I haven't done much Sevcik, but I had to do it at Conservatoire. And how it worked with me, I was looking at a page. Sevcik are violin, for those of you who don't know it, the Sevcik are violin studies that can be used for left hand technique, that can be used for bowing technique, that are really quite repetitive. And the idea behind it is that when they are written as repetitive studies, you will play more of it and therefore get better. Actually, with me and with some people that I know who have been using them, because they get so repetitive, they are encouraging some mindless practice. And certainly for me, that was the idea. I would play endless times the same thing. and my thoughts would drift. I would think, okay, I've got a party on tonight and I really don't want to be here practicing Zevchik, you see. So a study is only as effective as it can engage the learner, and that is my main grievance against Zevchik. Other people swear by it, so it's very much my personal opinion, and don't be offended if this is very useful for you, because it works for different people. All I'm saying is that I am not a fan because it distracts me. The moment I open the book and I see 100 times the same thing, I'm thinking, oh dear, I will still be here in 15 minutes doing the same thing. But if you can make it work and make it interesting so that you can focus the mind all the time and play with attention every single bar of the practice that you are doing, whichever book you are and whichever exercise you're doing in those books, think very carefully, why am I practicing that? What am I going to achieve? Am I going to improve the fall of my left hand fingers? Am I going to improve my bowing technique? And how am I going to improve it then? Am I going to try to use longer bows or shorter bows or slur more or fewer notes? And you can keep that focus for maybe a whole line. Then you're gaining and then you're making progress with Zevchik. But as soon as you start to think about your shopping list or who you need to phone after this practice, then you might as well stop straight away, because then it becomes mindless practice, as I call it, and it's not going to help you. So set yourself a really clear and concise task and say, okay, I am going to improve the intonation of my second finger on the A string. So it is very precise. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? How long am I going to do it for? Once you set yourself parameters like that, you're much more likely to be successful. And I'm hoping that answers your question. Leslie says, hello Leslie, good to see you here. I am usually doing, the question is, will you be doing regular lives? The aim is to do regular lives, and I have been doing them all along for a long time. And I tend to do them, but not always, on the last Friday afternoon of each month. So yes, I do them regularly. Now, in the month of July and August, it is often a bit chaotic here, and I must say it's been incredibly busy in July and August right here, and I'll tell you why. And I could not believe that was happening, and that was because of the heat wave in Southern California and Arizona, and people were stuck in their homes, in their air-conditioned homes, because they couldn't go out because it was 47 degrees. And lots of people decided to practice the violin because they couldn't go to the beach, they couldn't go out to fun theme parks or to the zoo or whatever you do, shopping. And so all they could do is run from their air-conditioned homes into their air-conditioned cars and then go somewhere where it was air-conditioned again. So I've been absolutely delighted, but a little bit overwhelmed with people wanting violin lessons. So I was a bit tired by the end of August, so that's why there wasn't a class. But normally if everything is just normal, then it's usually the last Friday of every month. But it will be announced in the community section of the YouTube channel, so you will always know in advance when it will be held. And quite a lot of the times, and we might do that towards the end of this class as well, I discuss with the audience that is there, so with you guys, when you might find it useful to have the next class. So we'll do that at the end. Remind me if I forget. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Annika says she will start the new course. Excellent, really good. I'm on day 11 of Suzuki Learning in 30 days, so any extra beginner sessions would go down well. Yes, and I was going to say, but I'm glad you bring this up. So even if you follow a different course, and there are several courses on my channel for complete beginners, so the most popular one is the Suzuki course, like you mentioned. Then we've already briefly touched on the All for Strings course. And now there is the virtual violin practice play along. That is also a course that you might consider. Virtual violin practice play along, it's called, yes. And that is also a more sort of yoga type, mindfulness type. Oh no, actually that's a different one. I'll come to that. There's so much, I'm confusing myself here. The virtual violin practice play along is also a beginner course without a book. So you might follow all of these courses alongside each other because they all address in essence the same aspects of violin playing, but because I've done them in different times, some a bit earlier and some a bit later, they approach the subject from maybe slightly different perspective, and I think that might be very useful for you because you hear me explain the same concepts in slightly different vocabulary. Okay, the other course that I was mentioning is called Mindfulness for Violin Players, and that is a more of a generic course, a yoga type, mindfulness type course that practices techniques that help you improve your violin posture, the balance and your stance when you play the violin, and therefore will make it, hopefully that's the theory behind it, make it easier to play because you learn to drop your shoulders and you learn in that course to feel the space in front of you, because that is where you're going to be holding the violin. You're going to be bowing in this space. So how you get a feel for this space in front of you helps people play the violin better. So that is the Mindfulness for Violin Players course. You might go on the home page and you scroll right down the home page. You see all the most popular courses. That's one way of finding them. Another way to find the course, so make a note, I'll drop them down into the chat box in a second. You can also use the search bar. So when you go on the home page, you see my picture, and then there is home, videos, shorts, community, membership, shop, about. I can't remember all the tags. If you scroll as far as possible to the right, there is eventually a search bar, so you can type in the word that you're searching for. So I think you were asking about vibrato. Type in the word vibrato there, and all my videos that deal with vibrato pop up. Okay, so what have I just mentioned? Let me write it in the chat box. So the last one was mindfulness for violin players. That's one. Then the other one was the virtual violin practice play along. So that just means you play along and practice the violin online. That's basically what it means. Then there is, of course, Suzuki Volume 1. And there's also Suzuki Volume 2. There is also Suzuki Volume 3, but that is a membership video. And then there is All for Strings. That is also a beginner course. If there are any books that you feel like you want a course on, maybe just write it in the text box right now, because I have been Googling. You may know about how this sometimes works. Most popular violin methods in America, most popular violin methods in Europe, most popular violin methods in Asia, and actually nothing comes up. Google doesn't know about these things, so that's why I'm asking you about it. Right, enough of that. Kirsty, hello, welcome. It's good to see you here, and I'm really delighted to hear that your elbow is better and you can practice again. Maybe your elbow is nothing to do with your violin playing, but I'd be interested to know if playing the violin too much may have had something to do with you getting injured. But I'm really so happy. I was wondering if you would be here today. Really happy to hear that you're better and you can play again. Have clicked the bell. Okay, so hopefully we'll be reminded to tune in. Looking forward. Yes, Leslie, that is a very sensible comment. If you want to get notifications about when a new video is released, when a new community post is posted, about when new live classes are coming up, just hit that bell button and you will get emailed about it, so that you never miss a thing that way, you see. Linda, thank you. I think I'm inclined to agree with you. Oh, I'm hoping that. But give it a go and see if you make progress with it. Kirsty, yes, that was a very sensible thing. Kirsty says, I have new hair on my bow and better rosin, and it makes my violin sound softer. This person, Kirsty, was injured, and she said, I'm using this time to have my bow repaired. And that is super sensible. And even if you can't practice the violin because your instrument, there's something wrong with your instrument, or there's something wrong with your body, you're injured, you can't do it, or you can't play because your neighbour is poorly and you don't want to make any sound, there's lots of other things that you can do. And this is just what Kirsty did. She had her bow repaired in the meantime. So that makes total sense, doesn't it? Okay. Oh, Crickbone, yes, you are right. There is a Crickbone method, and I know it's your favourite. I've forgotten about that. And Crickbone is still my favourite course, and that is nothing to do because it's a good course. It is a good course, but I first started off learning with the Crickbone method, as you notice. Now, it doesn't matter which method you use or whether you use different methods all at the same time, because any method is as good as it's being taught and being learned from. So people sometimes come to my practice and say, oh, I was taught Suzuki and people say it's not right. I'm thinking there's nothing wrong with the Suzuki method. It's a really good method, but have you been taught it right, you see? So every person learns in a different way. Every teacher teaches in a different way. So to find a good match between the two, where the teaching and learning is effective, that is the thing that you want to find out. So if you find the over strings method a bit too densely printed on the page, and you think, oh, I really can't focus because it's all these different 69 tunes in a row, that really puts me off, then choose a different method where you've got just 2 or 3 songs on one page, and may well make learning easier. And it's the same with the what was it called? Let me see. We talked about it a moment ago. Linda was bringing that up. Zefji, that's the one. If you don't like the look of it, then don't go there, because there is so much material for the violin. Unlike for some instruments, there is vast amounts. So if you don't like one method, then search for another one. Okay, now then. By the way, do you like this t-shirt? This is new merchandise. I'm actually loving this t-shirt. I'm wearing it all the time. They come in this sort of logo, which is like an icon style logo, which I didn't think I would like it as much, but I do love it, and it's super comfortable. As part of our anniversary celebrations, we have got 20% of our merchandise off the American shop as well. So if you're here and you think, nice shirt, then now is the time. And the offer is on from today until the 4th of October. Now this is also a favourite of mine. Look at that. I think this is like a long sleeve jumper, sweatshirt style jumper. And I love this. I don't know if you can see it all right, because this is like a woman cradling her violin. It's like a line drawing. Can you see that? Sweet one as well. Super comfortable. And my most comfortable one is this one. And this is so comfortable that all of my family members have bought one as well, because this is the most comfortable hoodie ever. I've never owned a hoodie as comfortable as this one. Now this is printed with the Pro Strings logo. Can you see that? and it's the softest and really the warmest type hoodie. So if that's something that you're interested in, now is the time to purchase it with the 20% offer. And now that I'm promoting all the stuff as well, look at this. I love this. This is my favorite mug. Can you see it? And it's just a good quality mug, and I use it all the time. It brings a smile to my face, this one. You can get it in different colours as well, and the same with the jumpers. You can choose any colour that you like because they are specially printed for you. So you choose, I think, a style and a colour and a logo. So there you go, and you can get aprons and hats, I think, as well. I can't remember because that is not something that I deal with much, but if that's something that is interesting, have a look at it. Anyway, is there another question here? You have new hair on your bow and better rosin. Yeah, we've talked about that. Got to go now. Okay. Anyone else for another question? Now, whilst we're waiting for another question to come through, over the past year or so, we've answered so many questions. What to do with short fingers on the G-string was one that I had on my list, because what happens if people write questions underneath videos in comment section, I tend to make a note of them so that I've got questions to address, you see. I think we may have answered that one in our last class, but tell me if I'm wrong. So the question is, what to do with short fingers on the G-string? So you're playing here and you have a note on the G-string and you suddenly think, oh, I can't really reach as far as that because my finger goes only up to there. And if that happens to you, what you need to do is bring your elbow further under the violin. Can you see that? What happens if you bring your elbow under the violin? Look, now I'm playing way too far out because your elbow needs to be straight underneath the violin. But what happens if you bring your elbow under? It brings your fingertips closer to a lower string. Can you see that? So if this is you and you can't reach your G string or your D string, bring your elbow further under. Now if you play like this with what I call a hooked wrist, so your wrist is shaped like that, it takes the fingers away from the strings. Now look what happens if I adjust my wrist. Where do my fingertips go? So if I'm here, I'm trying to do that in reverse, in mirror image. If I push my wrist out, my fingertips automatically come closer to the fingerboard, you see. So if I can't reach my G string, I can do two things. Bring the elbow under, push out your wrist, and it will bring your fingertips closer to the strings. Oh, we have a new person here, Grace. Hello, Grace. Welcome to this class. This is a new name, and it's lovely to see you here. What do you think about a wound E string? I am thinking, what can you mean with that? Because unless you have steel E strings, I always play on wound E strings. So they have got nylon core and they're wound with silver wire. And they are slightly more mellow in tone. If this is what you mean, perhaps you can elaborate a little bit more. They are a little bit more mellow in tone than the steel strings, which are generally a bit more harsh sounding. So I'm hoping that is what your question is. So I'd go for wound E strings. Now, there's only a couple of people who I would not recommend wound E strings for, and there's mostly teenage boys who are very, very sweaty, or can be very sweaty with very sweaty hands. And what happens, the perspiration on your fingers have a chemical reaction with the winding of the strings. So the winding of the strings tends to come off really quickly. And so occasionally I say to people, get a steel E string, because otherwise you have to change your strings every other week, because the wear and tear of the string is just too great. But then when their hormones settle down a little bit, then they can go back to the wound strings, because they just sound a whole lot nicer. Now, first of all, what you want is that your strings are, all 4 of them, within the same sort of bandwidth of timbre, shall I call. So you don't want to play on 3 wound strings that have got either a gut core or a nylon core, and then 1 steel string for your E, because your E string, by comparison to your other strings, will blast out in sound. So you want to have 4 strings that are matched to one another, and that also sometimes depends on your instrument, because some instruments are much louder in the lower part of, so on the G and D strings. So if that is the case, you might have maybe some softer strings, Paraster Aricore strings on G and D, and then Thomas Stieg on A and E. But that really depends on your instrument and what kind of repertoire you play. So your 4 strings should be balanced, so that not a single one is harsher or more direct or more outspoken than any of your other strings, unless of course that is what you like. So some people like to have a bit more an intimate quality sound, and they may choose an instrument, once they're beyond beginner level obviously, choose an instrument which is generally a little bit more delicate in sound, a little bit more sort of, we call it a chamber music instrument. And other people are more sort of outgoing by nature, and they'd like a little bit more of a blast of a violin sound, and then it could be well suited to you if you're that sort of player and you like to play expressive pieces, to go for strings that are a little bit more direct in sound. So I like the more sort of intimate sound, because I really like tone colors, and I like to really create an atmosphere in a certain piece. So you will never find me play very, very virtuosic pieces, because I just don't like them so much. I'm much more of a sort of chamber music player, and that's what I used to do. And I really like to explore tone color and delicate shades in tone varieties, you see. But if you're a player who's just outgoing, who likes the fast pieces and the really high pieces and really outspoken pieces, then you might go for steel strings and be really, really expressive. Okay, I'm hoping that answers your question. Not my channel. Hello. I think I've seen you on this channel before, haven't I? Welcome. You're a beginner on Crickboom and learning the DNA strings. The first finger sounds very odd to me, like it's very harsh and out of tune as compared to the... Okay, so the first finger is a little bit out of tune and harsh as compared to the second and third fingers. The third finger sounds best. Obviously, if I am going to respond to your question, it is going to be a generalization. You're very welcome to book a lesson with me, and I'll have a look to see your specific situation, the way you hold your violin, the way you hold your first finger. I don't know that at this stage, okay? So I'm assuming that it's the same on the D and A strings and not on one string in particular. I would imagine if this is the cause that I'm just going to address in a moment, you would probably sound better on the D string. I'm wondering if your nails are really, really short. Let me see how I can show you that. Because when we play with the first finger, your nails should be so short. Perhaps it's easier. How can I show you that? Maybe this way. Maybe flat. I'm just trying to work out a way that you can see it. I'm touching the string with a fleshy part of my finger. Now my finger needs to be on my fingertip, but even if I press, my nail is not touching the fingerboard or the string. So I'm still playing on the fleshy part of my finger, not using my nail. So my first solution to your issue that you bring up is to check whether your nail is short enough. And you can always recognize violin players. They have got super short nails on their left hand. And my nail is shorter on the left hand, on the right hand side of my index finger than on the other side, because my finger is always a little bit on the side, like that. Oh, well, can I show you that? Maybe this way? Not really. So I have my nail shorter on the side of my index finger. That is different when you play more on your, when you play on your third finger. And this is how I get to this idea. Your third finger sounds good, you say. Because it's easier to play more on your fingertip, first of all, but it's maybe also easier to cut your nail so short all around your fingertip rather than on the side more, you see. So when I cut my fingernails, I'll show you this side of my nail. So that is, if I look at it like this, so when I face my finger, it is the left side of my finger and nail which is a little bit shorter. So this is my most likely cause, without having seen you obviously, and the most likely cause of your harsh sound, simply because you may be pressing the string down with your nail. Ah, now there you go. So this is lovely about the chat box, isn't it? I've set it so that you get a little bit more instant result. Yes, you're right, the nail on my first finger extrudes beyond the flesh. I like that way how you say that. Try that first, and then in another class, oh, I see this now as well. In another class, let me know if that's not the case. And then by all means, if that doesn't solve it, you know my website and you can book a lesson with me and I can have a look to see if there might be anything else that is the matter. And this is what I always say to people. If you're learning to play the violin by yourself, you might come across obstacles like, not my channels, just indicated right here, which are going to hold you back from your progress. So quite often there's just one or two little things that you might tweak, like this as well, cutting your nail a bit shorter, then you can make progress again. I had another person who had a class with me the other day, and he had his shoulder rest upside down, and he said it's so uncomfortable. And just a little tweak, turning that right way round, now we can progress again because it feels like it should feel, you see. So if you ever have a problem that you think, why is this? Why can't I make a sound? Why does it feel so strange? You think, oh, it's really expensive to have a lesson with her. Actually, if that sorts you out and you can then progress again, it's actually money well spent, because you can plod on for weeks and weeks and weeks not getting any progress, and with one or two little tweaks, or sometimes a bit more, but mostly it's just one or two things, you can actually keep going again. So I'm hoping that sorted it out for you. Let me just go through the chat box again. The Crickbone, I know Ennika is a great fan of the Crickbone method. Warschau Amba has E, what she maybe means. Okay, that is a string brand that I have never used before. So it may well be that is a type of steel string. I don't know, I'd have to Google that. I'll make a note of it. And maybe another day we'll come to that. Okay, so I'm glad, not my channel, that I can help you with that. Is there anyone else who has another question? Of course, some of you put a heart there. I don't know whether that is like an extra emoji or so. That looks lovely. Thank you for that. If you want to promote Pro-Am Strings, what can you do? First of all, subscribe to the channel and watch each video to the end. How does that help? It helps my retention rates on the channel, because YouTube traces how many people drop off after how long watching a video. So if lots of people click on a video because they like the thumbnail, it comes on the whole presentation of all different videos that suit your keyword. and you click on it, then you start watching it. If lots of people drop off after 20 seconds, YouTube registers that and it will serve that video less than other videos that people watch for longer. So what can you do to support the channel is watch the videos to the end, or just let them play. They're all interlinked. So if you start on Suzuki Book 1, Lesson 1, it will automatically then play Lesson 2 and Lesson 3 and Lesson 4. So if there's one thing that you might do to support the channel is to let it play when you go to bed at night. Okay, so subscribe to the channel, because obviously when you subscribe to the channel, what does that actually do? It just bookmarks the page for you, but YouTube also recognize it, you know, just like I do, that Google has got a whole profile of you. But a person with this kind of interests, with this kind of education level, with this kind of spending level, likes this video. So lots of other people with similar profiles will get served the same video. So if you watch it to the end, it will serve the video more to other similar people. Secondly, what can you do is become a member of Henriette's Violin Club. And what is Henriette's Violin Club? That is a membership club that people pay into a little bit each month. Now, that comes at 3 different levels: the bronze, the silver and the gold level. And if you decide to take out a gold level membership, it includes all the perks of the bronze and silver. And if you decide to take out silver, it includes all the perks of the bronze. So every lower level is included in every higher level membership. Now, when you are a bronze member, you get special badges, special emojis. You can see when you look at the chat box, some people have a little shield by their name, and they are members of Henriette's Violin Club. Okay, so that is one of the things, that you get a little shield. You also get access to special emojis, and if you have a look at my welcome message right at the top of your chat box, there is this cat icon that has a few music notes and a violin. I had these a long time ago, specially designed for the members. So your bronze level membership gives you access to special violin emojis. It also gives you access to priority responses to comments below videos. So if you ask a question below the video, I do my very best to answer your question within 24 hours. It doesn't always happen, but that is the average, 24 hours. Then if you get to a silver membership, what does that include? It includes more advanced videos. So if you have watched, I'm just taking a sneak peek because there's so much in the different membership levels I can't remember, because I'm more involved with the videoing, you see. So if you take out silver membership and you've watched the Suzuki Volume 1 and maybe also Suzuki Volume 2, Volume 3 is in the silver membership. So if you want to follow that course even further, you'll need to take out a silver membership. There's also, because by then you're a more advanced violin player, there's also videos on basic bow strokes, and that helps develop your bowing technique if you watch all those videos, and you can watch them time and time again, obviously. And then for people who take out gold membership, all the gold membership videos are ad-free. So in gold you can also watch all the silver and all the bronze videos, but the gold ones you get them ad-free, and they are yet more advanced videos, and they're about tonalization and about the third position. So if you don't know what the third position is, go and consider taking out the gold membership. It's just more in-depth knowledge compared with all the free material. Now, lots of people will have a lifetime's work watching all the free material, but there are people who want to go in depth a little bit more. So that is another way you can support the channel. So subscribe to the channel and watch each video, and then take out a membership. Obviously, you can take lessons with me. Underneath the most popular videos, there's now a new sort of resources section where you can find links to my website, you can subscribe to my newsletter if you haven't already done so, and you can also book lessons. And there is a shop, an Amazon shop, so that is an affiliate site where I have selected good quality instruments, good quality rosins, good quality shoulder rests. Because if you're not very knowledgeable in violin land and you go on Amazon and you type in the word violin for beginner, you get about 500 different violins, of which about 480 are total crap, excuse the word, and you need to stay well clear of them. So what I have done is, on my website I've selected a couple of violins of good quality that will actually play for you and make a decent sound, and in different price categories, so wherever you want to go. Someone is trying out all the emojis. Thanks, Seneca. That is another way you can buy through my website. Then you get decent stuff, you get good quality books as well, and accessories. And then there are a couple of fun things, like if you fancy a neon sign with a music treble clef, then that you can find that on there as well. Or if you are looking to buy a present for someone who plays the violin for Christmas, you can find them all on there as well. Now, another way that you can support this channel is just go on PayPal and type in info@proamstrings.com, and some people support the channel with a monthly fee like that. So there's various different ways that suit various different purses and different people. And also just come to these classes, and that way you also support the channel. So thanks for all these emojis. I like that. We're coming to the end of this session, I think. Have you got any more questions? Anyone? Have I answered any of your questions to the best to what you were looking for? Or do you want to ask one more? Nothing anymore. Go on then. You've always wanted to ask that question. Was there one more question? Oh, yes, I'm nearly forgetting one. Someone has asked, this is also a question from somebody under one of the videos, when do you, and this is also a good one, I'll come to that, not my channel has asked a question, I'll come to that in a second. When do you need to change your strings? There's a very simple way to check that. Maybe you remember we, in a long time ago in a class, we have discussed that. Strings can actually go out of tune. Obviously, one person has already indicated that strings sometimes break. That is when you change your strings. Never ever change 4 strings at the same time, because what happens is when you replace a string, that new string will stretch a little bit and it will keep going out of tune because of it being stretched, because you tune it up all the time. So new strings need frequent tuning before they settle, and some kinds of strings are also sometimes a little bit harsh initially until you've played them in, and then they will settle in their final more mellow expands. Now this string, actually, this is my G string, it will need replacing at some point, because if I have a really good look at the vibration, you can see it goes out, in, and then another out. So you go, here we are, out, in, out, and back. Have another look. Can you see that? There's some variation there. Now this should go out and straight in, and that is when your string is still good. This means start thinking about replacing your G string. Now this one, the D string, let's see what that does. See, this is a much better string. This is my most recently replaced one, I think. See, it goes out, straight in. So that's a good string. My A is also much better. Out, straight in. Compare this with the G string. See? E string, Let's see what that brings. More difficult to see this one. Oops. Don't break it now. It's harder to see. When you look at your own violin, you can see. So you want that vibration to go out and straight back in. Okay, great. That is what it is. Not My Channel is asking, how much is too much rosin? That is a very good question, because I see lots of people who play with too little rosin and then you get no sound, but also people who get too much rosin. I'm putting my violin down, but I need it here. If you get big quantities of rosin here that accumulate between your strings, you can see I've got a little bit of rosin on my thumb now. That is about right. See, there is a little bit of rosin when I scrape it like that. If you have got a snowy area here that's covered in rosin, that is time to stop rosining for a while and really wipe that violin, because the rosin has a chemical reaction with the varnish of your instrument. So you need to wipe off that rosin. I need to do it myself as well, because there's rosin on my varnish. And eventually, if you do that for 20 years and you leave it on, you will see you'll have a bare patch there. So from 1 day or 2 days, it really doesn't matter, but don't leave it on for very long. So another thing that lots of people don't know is, if I rosin my bow, let me give you an example. All the beginner videos hopefully show you that as well. So I'm rosining my bow. It depends. If you have a new bow, you will have to rosin quite a lot to get all the rosin in between the hair, but my bow is rosined every day, so I put a little bit of rosin on and then I just flick it so that any excess rosin comes out. Okay, so I haven't got any loose rosin, only the rosin that is attached to the hair of my bow is on there now. So I flick it so that I don't get all this sort of snow falling onto my violin, you see. But if you have a white patch underneath your strings, that's definitely too much rosin. Erika is asking about sight reading. Sight reading, yes. Have you watched the new sight? Have I done a new sight reading video? Yes, I think I have. Let me see which one that is. Oh, you see, there are so many videos. Oh, yeah, here. Sight reading before and after. It's the green and red video with the icons. Yeah, we can do that next time. Sight reading, reasons to learn to sight read. So yeah, we'll do that next time. Remind me. October I've got in my calendar. 27th of October. Now that is a projected date for the next class. That is not a guarantee. I will put it on. But thanks very much. Goodbye.